I'm Emily, and today we are going to be discussing the fourth book in the Trials of Apollo, the Tyrant's Tomb. You may be asking yourself, why, Emily? Why, when you have this beautiful set of books behind you, would you get this on your iPad? And that is because, my friends, I have ADD more than I have OCD, and I like to reflect that in my book collection. So we're going to be covering this fourth book. It's going to have a lot of spoilers in it for all the previous books. Well, obviously don't watch this if you haven't read it or don't want to be spoiled, but I think we should just jump right into this. We start with Meg and Apollo driving a hearse with Jason's body back to Camp Jupiter, the Roman demigod camp. And they're, of course, attacked, like they normally are, by these Urinomos, or these dead eaters. They want to eat Jason's body, which is uncool. They are saved by Lavinia, this pink-haired chick. She is the daughter of the dance muse, and Dawn, the faun, which is just the Roman version of a satyr. They offer to help carry the casket back to camp, where they're then attacked again. And Hazel Levesque shows up to save the day. She's one of the protagonists of the Heroes of Olympus series. She's kind of like Frank's, girlfriend. We're not really sure. During this attack, though, Apollo gets scratched on the stomach by one of the Urinomos. He says that the poison is going to kind of seep through his body until he becomes a zombie, unless he can be healed. Well, none of the Roman healers can help, so we're not exactly sure what he's going to be able to do. Back at camp, they run into the co-praetors, Frank and Raina. Frank is this big shapeshifter dude. His thing is that his life force is kind of tied to this little wooden stick, and if it burns up, he will die. He talks about how they fought these zombies in this last great battle and how their forces are really weakened. Raina, on the other hand, Apollo kind of pales when he sees her. He remembers a time when Venus said that Apollo was the only one who could heal Raina's heart, but he better not even dare try, or else she will curse him with an even worse love life than he already has going on for him. Apollo sleeps that night and dreams that Commodus and Caligula are on the way with their navy force of yachts. Well, the Romans don't have a great navy. They're already kind of defeated from the last battle, so I'm not really sure how this is going to go down. The next morning, Apollo goes to speak to Tyson and Ella. Tyson is Percy's Cyclops half-brother who's dating this harpy Ella. She's been recreating the Sibylline books, or these books of prophecy, on Tyson's body as tattoos, like all over this Cyclops' body. So that's new. The prophecy reveals that they're kind of dealing with this Tarquinius guy. He was this king of Rome a long time ago, and this Cumean Sibyl had offered him these books of prophecy that would help him save Rome. Well, she offered them at an exorbitant price, and he said no, so she burned some of them. Well, his people kind of forced him to do it, so he bought the books, and not really sure what happened after that. I guess Apollo woke up from his dream. Another thing about this Cumean Sibyl is that Apollo was totally mean to her in his past life as a god. This book really deals with some of Apollo's past sins. He had a huge crush on her and gave her immortal life, but then she rejected him, so he couldn't take the immortal life back, but he didn't give her immortal beauty, and so she continued to age and age until she just became nothing but a voice in a jar. So they don't have a great relationship or history. Meg, Apollo, Hazel, and Lavinia are to go scout out Tarquin's tomb and get some intel. Well, there they find out that Apollo's poison just kind of accelerates when he's around him, and he's going to be part of his undead army, which consists of a lot of the previous Roman campers. Hazel basically drops the tomb on top of Tarquin, and they get out of there. One of the things they learn, though, is that the emperors have this soundless god on their side, and they think that may be why communications have been cut off between all the demigods for the past couple of books. They also learn from prophecy that they might be able to bring one of the Roman gods or goddesses down to help them out with this war, Apollo's wound, a lot of things, but it's going to require the sacrifice of a god. So we're thinking it's either going to be Apollo or maybe this soundless god guy. We'll have to see. Before they go on their quest to find the soundless god, Lavinia pulls Apollo aside and shows him all these fauns and dryads and nature spirits that are around camp that they think they're just gonna get out of Dodge by the time the yachts come. They're full of Greek fire, which will just cause them to burn. I cannot believe that this children's book is going into desertion of a post and cowardice like this, but it really is, and it really is a real thing. So I'm really thankful that Rick Riordan handles these topics as he does. But Lavinia's plan right now is to leave. The next day, Reyna and Meg and Apollo make this trip to Sutro Tower to find this soundless god. There, Apollo tries to heal Reyna's heart by offering to be her boyfriend. Well, she totally rejects him in a pretty mean, maniacally laughing way, but Apollo will get over it. On the way to the top of the tower, they're attacked by ravens, again looking at Apollo's past life. These ravens came to him one time telling him that his girlfriend had cheated on him. Well, he kind of got pretty mad, killed his girlfriend, and punished the ravens for tattletelling by turning them black and making them carcass eaters. So they're not really that hard of hired help because they already have revenge against Apollo that they want to get out. All those words didn't really make sense. I hope they made sense to you. Apollo scares them off by singing pretty badly, and this is when he remembers who this silent god is. It's this guy named Harpocrates, which is another guy that Apollo kind of bullied, so we're not really sure what will happen when they release him. But I thought he was pretty cool. He was like this Egyptian-Roman hybrid god, because when the Romans invaded Egypt, they found a bunch of his statues that were like this, which is the Roman hieroglyph for child, but they read that as silence. So he's this 10-year-old silent god. I just thought it was pretty confusing, but also cool. When they open the gates, they find that Harpocrates also holds the jar of Sibylline, so Apollo's really not sure what's going to happen when he lets them out. Once they release Harpocrates and the Sibyl, they find out that they are actually in love. They were captured by the emperors, put together, and through this they fell in love. They offer to sacrifice themselves together, and they just cease to be. Harpocrates' last breath goes into this jar so that they can use it for this godly ritual. Our heroes head back to camp and they find out the communication is actually working again. They get a message from Frank saying part of their forces have already failed, but that the yachts are literally like only 2 hours away, so they better head back fast. Their truck is attacked by another stinking Urinomos. I'm getting sick of these guys, okay? And Reyna fights them off while Apollo takes the wheel and basically flies them off of a bridge where the car wrecks and Reyna is seriously injured. But fortunately Lavinia shows up and her dryad spirits and they heal Reyna, even though she's saying she's gonna have to bring her up on desertion charges for not being at her post. Lavinia says that she has a plan. She's hopefully trying to incept into Reyna's mind that it was her idea, but we'll have to see how that goes because Reyna passes out. Apollo and Meg arrive back at camp, and this is one of my favorite scenes that Rick Riordan does where there's just chaos everywhere. There's all these different monsters fighting, yachts on the horizon, Tarquin zombies are attacking. It's just chaotic. I love these scenes. The goddess Apollo picks is Diana, the Roman version of his twin sister Artemis. So he heads to Tyson and Ella to perform this ritual, but she doesn't show up. So Tyson and Ella volunteer to stay behind while Apollo goes off to continue fighting. He decides to go help Frank with the oncoming emperors because Tarquin's curse is pretty strong in him. So once he gets there, he sees that the yachts start firing their Greek fire, but it goes straight up into the air and back down, destroying the yachts. I would have thought this was some godly power, but I guess, you know, they're gonna show up in actual form because they want all that praise. So we'll have to find out who calls that later. The emperors show up and Frank's forces are basically defeated, but he offers to do a 1-on-2 battle with them. Well, Apollo can't stand for that and he offers to help. So basically it's Frank and Apollo versus Commodus and Caligula. They start fighting and Frank says that Apollo will need to get out of there whenever Frank gives the signal. They fight under this tunnel and Frank gives the signal. Apollo heads out and he pulls out his life force stick and sets it on fire. The tunnel explodes because it's full of oil, and Caligula dies, but Apollo ultimately has to be the one to kill Commodus, and he does that basically with his voice. But Frank is dead. Like, first Jason, now Frank. I mean, nobody can have a boyfriend. Nobody can have a happy life in this book series. Come on, Rick, like, what are you doing to me? And even after that, we're not done. Apollo now has to face Tarquin, whom he realizes is looking for those Sibylline books that he paid for so long ago. He heads to the bookstore where he basically succumbs to Tarquin's curse, and we know that he's going to die and become a zombie any minute. It's actually a really sweet moment because he pulls out the arrow of Dodona, and the arrow is trying to get Apollo to focus on the present and to stay here, but ultimately he just succumbs to the curse. But fortunately, Diana shows up at that exact instant and saves Apollo like 3 seconds after he dies. So Diana takes out Tarquin, and everyone's super happy, obviously, except for Hazel, whose boyfriend just died. But they head outside, and Frank arrives alive? I really did not see this coming. I thought for some reason Rick was just gonna go off on a main character killing spree, but thankfully Frank, apparently by burning the stick himself, took his own destiny into his own hands, and so that stick is null and void now. As quickly as Diana appeared, she leaves, but Talia leaves a message with Apollo, letting him know that he really means a lot to her. They have a bunch of funerals because many people have died. Dakota, Jacob, even Dawn the Fawn passed on and reincarnated into a laurel tree. After the funerals, they hold a synod where Reyna says that she's going to join the hunters because actually Apollo did heal her heart, just not in the way he thought. He made her realize that she didn't need anybody right now, and one of the oaths of the hunters is that they can't fall in love, and she realized that she was okay with that for right now. So she gives up her co-praetorship to Hazel. So Frank and Hazel are now the co-praetors, their cute little selves, and Lavinia actually gets pardoned by Reyna, saying it was her idea the whole time because Lavinia was instrumental in the yacht's destruction. She and her group of dryads and Dawn were the ones who made the cannons malfunction and destroy themselves. She got a pair of her mother's shoes out of it, but she also got promoted to the Centurion of the 5th cohort. Apollo and Meg receive some gifts from everybody. Apollo gets one of his old bows when he was a god, and Meg gets some ancient seeds that she's going to be able to use in their upcoming adventures. So the next book, they're going to have to defeat Nero and Python. So they have a lot ahead of them, but this is where this book ends off. So I cannot believe that I made it through 4 of these amazingly beautiful, but like super heart-wrenching books with you guys. And I cannot wait to read the last book in the series, The Tower of Nero. I hope you guys are just as excited as I am if you haven't already read it, because I am so behind. Anyways, until next time, see you guys!